What's up, Happiest Hour family, and welcome back to another episode. We hope you had such a fantastic Valentine's Day, and we are ready to get into something that, I don't know, hopefully doesn't make anyone heated. I know you had a wonderful day on Valentine's Day, and we hope we don't make you mad with this episode topic, but here's out. We are going to be talking about why Disneyland is better than Walt Disney World. Ooh, it's getting hot in here. Yeah, you're coming in quickly. You're like, don't hate us.
Don't get mad yet, because next week we're going to do the counterpart to this episode, which is why Disney World is better than Disneyland.
Yeah, it's more of like a, what does Disneyland do better than Walt Disney World? And then next week we're going to be exploring what Walt Disney World does better than Disneyland. You know, we were always those types of people that Disneyland's our home park. We haven't even had the chance to go to Walt Disney World, but obviously Disneyland's so much better.
We critiqued it really hard without ever having been.
Yeah.
And now we have, but.
Yeah, we went in 2018 and had such a fun time. And so now it's really hard. Certain things Disneyland does better. Certain things Walt Disney World does better. So tonight we are going to be talking about why Disneyland is better. What are its strengths? But before we get into this episode, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and click the like button and the subscribe button. We are on our way to 1,000 subs. And so those two little really easy actions help us get there.
Yeah.
And then if you're listening on a podcasting platform, go ahead and click the follow button on there and give us 5 stars if you want. That would mean so much. Yeah, for sure. That'd be great. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in.
All right, so we are very excited for this episode because there's a lot to say about Disneyland and what is just so amazing about it that kind of sets it apart from Disney World. We asked the question on Instagram to all of our followers what they had to say about what makes Disneyland better. Well, we got a lot of responses.
Oh, yeah.
Some of which are
they didn't hold back. Yeah, they didn't hold back. Eesh.
Some people were very, very blunt about their answers to this. So I'll just go ahead and mention a few of those real quick. Yeah. So we had at Kate Lucian, at That Disney Girl, and at Loungefly Jedi, who said literally everything.
Ooh, yikes. Shots fired.
Shots fired. That's
crazy. Very spicy.
And then we also had at What I'm Wearing to Disney, who said, where do I begin?
Yeah, I didn't actually check her DMs to see if she just sent a huge list of things.
maybe there's a lot.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so it was real. And I think, you know, we are Disneyland kind of homers. Like this is our home park, you know, so we have a lot of people who follow us, I think, on this side of the country, but I'm very curious to see what listeners will say next week when I ask the question, why is Disney World better? Yeah. I'm very curious to hear if we'll hear the same amount, if people will still, some of these people will come in and be like, it's not.
Yeah, it's going to be very different answers. I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty interested to see myself, but yeah, we have quite a list here, and we have a lot of answers that we had ourselves and some that coincided with what you guys had to say on Instagram as well. So let's dive in.
Yeah, let's dive in. And this first one is what we heard of most from you guys. When we were deciding to do this episode, this is the first one that came up for us too. And it's so special.
Always going to be.
Always going to be why we love Disneyland so much. But it goes back to Disneyland is the original first park. And not only does it have such amazing history, I mean, just pop on the Imagineering store on Disney Plus and see that history play out. I mean, it's incredible, from just the inspiration to build a park for parents and kids alike, to the actual development of it and the groundbreaking technology that they use in the immersion.
Yeah.
Unlike anything else at the time, which makes it so special. But not only that, but Walt's presence is felt there. I mean, we've talked to some people who had not gone to Disneyland. They were Walt Disney World, you know, homers over there. And they came over to Disneyland and they told us, they're like, there is like an aura. Yeah, you could definitely feel it. It's part of like Walt Disney's magic just soaked into like the foundation of the buildings and the rides and all that stuff.
You see little glimpses of him everywhere, you know, like, because we all know where he drew his inspiration from, you know, from the town where he grew up, Main Street.
Yeah,
I definitely feel Walt the most on Main Street.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and you know, the firehouse and where his apartment was, that whole area just is like, this is Walt.
Yeah, the cool thing about the firehouse too is it's not just knowing that it was his handiwork who helped, you know, come up with the ideas of these rides and build these rides, but it's also things like that, like the firehouse. He used to actually live in the firehouse apartment. Yeah. And you know, they keep that lamp on in his apartment. Never turns off to just signify that Walt's still up there, you know, kind of looking over the land and everything. And so, yeah, it's amazing.
Special. Yeah.
So special.
Definitely sets it apart. That's definitely the biggest thing I think that is different from Disney World. Granted, Disney World was going to be a huge passion project for him. And, you know, I think if he had survived long enough to see it through, you would still be feeling a lot, you know? I mean, and you do. I think you still do feel him there. It's just different because it wasn't the first one.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is that like Walt Disney World was really like his playground where, I mean, Disneyland was as well, but then everyone swooped in and he felt limited a little bit, right? He felt,
so much
and
more.
He was so excited to do Walt Disney World.
Yeah. He was so excited for Epcot and, you know, all the things that he could do there with the amount of land that he had. Yeah. So it's so sad that he didn't get to, you know, see it through. But I think it still came together pretty wonderfully, and I think he would be proud of it.
Oh, he totally would be. Yeah. But let's hear from some of our listeners. We have a lot here, so we're not really going to stop and break them down. We love all of you guys who submitted the responses.
Thank you guys
are so amazing. And like we said in our last episode, or maybe the episode before that, we love hearing from you guys because it makes this us just talking to a phone to like more of like a two-way conversation. And so it's always so fun hearing from you guys. You guys are the best. So we heard from, do you want me to just get all these and then you can do that? Okay.
Just run through them.
Here we go. So we heard from @Riley on Main Street, who said Walt had a huge hand in it and was there to see it through. So true. @Sarah MCW said Walt was there. @Hoon Honky said Walt's original park. @It's Lauren Renee said history and the touches of Walt. It all started with the Mouse 138 said it's where the parks began. The foundation and all the other Disney parks, you know, around the world. Dreaming of Disney podcast said knowing Walt actually walked the streets makes it so special. So true. Aerial coverage provided by said Walt's touch. We had her on a show as well as some other people here. So great. Lisa Baby. I always will say Lisa Baby. But she said Walt walked the park. So true. @Henry's Grammy. Hello, Henry's Grammy and Henry, if you're listening. The nostalgic feeling knowing Walt walked there. @Just Shano said it's Walt's park. @All About Los Angeles said it's the original park. And then @Lil Mint Julep, love that name, said Walt's presence is still felt there. And so, like we said, this is the number one response we got from you guys. And it is so true. If you have not been to Disneyland, don't just shrug it off. Be like, we have all that here in Walt Disney World. Go there and really just pay attention to visually what it looks like, but also just stop and think, and you totally, I don't know.
Just imagine like the orange groves that once were there and the construction. I feel like there's so many like old video and photo that we've seen now of like what it looked like pre-Disneyland and just the process that changed it to what it is.
Yeah. And you know, it's a really cool page. And we had him on a show too. All About Los Angeles, who said, you know, because it's the original park, go to his page and he has a lot of Disney old photos with like the new photos side by side. And so that is always so cool too, because it shows where Walt has sat in the parks and then what it looks like today. And it just makes it that much more real. You know, it's really, really cool. So definitely go check him out. But great stuff from you guys.
Yes. And so true. On top of that, like, not only the park itself, but like the rides themselves that he had a hand in and helping to create those, like Pirates and Jungle Cruise, Small World, like Fantasyland rides. There's just so much that he was there for, and he, you know, it was his imagination and creativity that helped create that stuff, and he was there for it.
I always think in the Imagineering story, they would say that he would go down to like the Disney Imagineering building and just be playing around with all of the different things that they're building. It was just like his little
playground.
Yeah, his little Santa's workshop in a way, just like playing with everything. And also just his love for trains. And obviously Magic Kingdom has the train as well, but going on the train that he was actually in on opening day, and he just loved trains. And that's another inspiration for Disneyland, and just being able to ride that original train. Yeah. That he knew he needed it inside the park. Yes. So
I think the train is maybe also where you feel Walt the most.
Because
there's so many old photos and videos of him on that train, the one in his backyard. Like you just know how much he loved trains and how much they meant to him. So it's I love the train in Disneyland.
It's so special. Okay, do you want to get this next reason why Disneyland is better than Walt Disney World?
Yeah. And it sounds a little funny because we all know how huge Disney World is, but the size of Disneyland, I think, gives it a little edge over Disney World, to be honest, because it's doable. It's not so spread out to where you need to drive between parks. I didn't understand that going to Disney World. I didn't comprehend just how huge it was and that you literally could not walk between them.
Yeah.
Because all I know is Disneyland. I was just like, oh yeah, they have to be like within walking distance of each other.
Yeah.
Not even close.
So wrong. Yeah.
So the size of Disneyland, not just the parks, but downtown Disney, the hotels, everything is within a, mile.
I mean, from Disneyland to California Adventure is like a 1 minute walk.
Yeah. It's literally so close.
And we love the big size of Walt Disney World too.
Yeah.
But
that
in
has
a different
its
way.
advantages
Yeah.
too, which we'll talk about next week.
Yeah.
But if you want to be able to knock out a trip to a Disney park in a couple of days, 1 or 2 days really.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it, because you can just do so much in that, that close proximity. It makes it so much easier, to be honest. And we did have quite a few people who had the same answer. So we have at Kelsey Brisbois, might be Brisbois.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's Brisbois. Proximity, everything in 2 parks, literally 1 minute walk from each gate. Yeah. So true.
So amazing.
At Cami Michael.
Michelle.
My pronunciation is not the best. Easier to manage. Yes, that goes back to the size of it. At Betic Guy said how close everything is. I can walk 10 minutes and get to DCA or downtown Disney.
Real quick pause here, which is so funny. I'm usually the one who puts all these in here, like the listener one. So for a lot of these, you just get to see. It's kind of fun.
For the first time,
and then you're like,
oh yeah. So if I mispronounce anything, it's because it's the first time I've seen some of the names.
Yeah.
Anyways, next up, at Plan Disney with Jill said proximity of the 2 parks. Yes. At Broke the Merm said walk between the parks. At We Watch TV podcast said proximity between parks. And at Vianney Plans Magic said cozy, homey feeling.
Yeah.
Which
and that's
relates to the size of things.
Yeah. It's not just the ability to walk between parks. There is something. I love how big Walt Disney World is, where it doesn't feel like you're cramped all the time. But going to, what you said about Main Street, Disneyland's Main Street feels so much like Marceline, Missouri, and like Walt, because it was smaller. Not that we've been there, but it's smaller and stuff like that. And it makes sense that Walt Disney World made it so much bigger, but it feels less like a small town because it's extended,
spread out, so big. Yeah.
And everything seems more dense in a crowded way in one way, but also feels like more lived in, I guess. Just like she said, cozy, homey feeling.
Yeah.
And you could see that in like the different lands and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Totally agree.
Even though Disneyland is smaller, another reason why Disneyland is better is because it actually has more rides than Magic Kingdom, which is so weird and surprising to think about.
Yeah.
Disneyland, not talking about attractions, but like actual rides. I believe this is where I got these from. Disneyland has 33, while Magic Kingdom has 24. And then if we're looking at just the resorts in general, Disneyland has 52 and Walt Disney World has 53. So only one more, which is super weird. Like obviously there's
So
little
weird.
tiny things that did not get counted as a ride, but they are attractions. Like that's the hard thing when you go to the Disney websites. It'll be like attractions and it'll be like, oh, like the character drawing thing. I'm like, okay, don't count that one, but count that. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that doesn't count.
but it is crazy that Disneyland actually has more rides than Walt Disney World. And you could kind of feel that like when you go into a certain area, like Fantasyland, for example, there are rides just boom, 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 right next to each other. And all the lands kind of feel like that too. But with Walt Disney World, it kind of feels like, okay, there's the ride over here. Then you have to walk quite a bit of a ways to go over here. And so it does feel in some areas a little more empty, which I guess is a good thing in some ways, but also it feels, I don't know, less like you're in
maybe
it,
too
like
spread out,
less immersive than Disneyland is. But yeah, more rides at Disneyland. So there's
crazy.
more you get kind of like a better bang for your buck in terms of like space. Because you get good amount more rides.
Yeah, agreed. And speaking of those rides, the counterparts of Disneyland versus Disney World rides, I would say ours over here in Disneyland overall are better than the ones in Disney World.
I would say that too. Some are like really, really close.
Yeah, almost equal. It's kind of hard to like edge one over the other.
And obviously Disney World has like the better queues.
Yes.
You know, but
pretty much universally that's true, I would say. But in terms of the rides themselves, like Space Mountain and Pirates, 100% are better here. The ones that are like kind of similar, I would say, in terms of like what's equal is Thunder and Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
They're, close to the same. Splash, when it was there, the difference in Disney World was that it was actually like double seated logs, which gave it kind of a Did
give it a different feel. I kind of like the the danger of the no.
It's kind of fun. Yes, the no seatbelt and just being like it's just you in your row, and then anyone else is in front of or behind you, but it's just you. I don't know. Something about it just made it a little bit more thrilling, I guess.
Yeah. And then what is it? Like Small World, our Small World has
definitely
the more iconic outside queue where there's like inside. But I would say the main ones are like, Pirates I think is one of the best rides at Disneyland for sure. And so our Pirates just, I don't know. It's a lot better.
Yeah.
And Space Mountain too. Like I know you guys had Space Mountain first. But our Space Mountain, I feel like is much more thrilling and less painful. Doesn't hurt, yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting that there's 2 tracks in Disney World.
Yeah.
I think the second time that we rode it, I liked that side better. I think it was like on the left. I can't remember how it went exactly. It's been a while now, but yes, either way, ours is much smoother and just better quality, I would say.
Definitely. I would have to agree. But I want to hear from you guys. Like I think we actually did do an episode rides against their counterparts. So that was really fun because I think we did all the counterparts against each other.
That was a fun episode though.
Yeah, early on in our podcasting journey. So try to find that if you want to listen to our ideas, but let us know below too if you're watching on YouTube, who has the better rides between Disneyland
who did
and Walt
what
Disney
better.
World. Yeah. So next up, why Disneyland is better after hours events. And, we actually haven't been to after hours events, which is so sad. I cannot wait to take our kids, when they're older. But everyone that we've talked to, they've said that, oh my gosh, Disneyland's Oogie Boogie specifically, Oogie Boogie is so much better than Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween. And I think we've heard the same with like the Christmas parties as well. Yeah. That Disneyland just crushes the after hours parties. And so if you're trying to do something, plan around the holidays and stuff like that, I think Disneyland tends to go all out. I was just talking to someone I know who went to Mickey's Not So Scary, and they're so like they give you like one little candy as you go there. And she said at Disneyland, There's way more characters, and they just like load you up with candy. It's just like a better overall experience and just a lot more fun. You have to factor that in, especially if you want those like
if you're into
more
that
exclusivity
kind of
type things for sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a real opinion on that one day.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll have to just go off of what we've heard.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up, though, we believe that the lands here in Disneyland are better overall. They're just, I don't know. New Orleans Square in particular is just one of my favorite places in the world. Definitely in the park. One of the best. It's just, I don't know. The vibes are just immaculate there.
It's so great.
It's the best. I love New Orleans Square so much. I know Liberty Square is...
I really enjoy Liberty Square
as well, but it's just different. It's just a different vibe, and New Orleans is better for sure. Getting
Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean side by side in New Orleans Square is just something that can't really be beat.
Yeah, you can't top that. Yeah, it's the best, and our Adventureland just feels more like just authentic. I think walking through in Disney World, walking through Adventureland, it just felt a little bit more like just a little disjointed, maybe. Yeah, kind of like. I don't know. Maybe
one thing that always like is jarring to me when I'm walking through their Adventureland is like the magic carpet.
I was thinking
it's just
that
like,
too.
oh, it's a spinner ride. Like it almost feels like it's right in the center of the walkway.
Like a
more of like a theme park vibe where our Adventureland is like we have
you're in the
jungle Cruise, the treehouse obviously, but then you also have Indiana Jones. And so it just feels like nothing brings me out of it. Like I feel like I'm in the jungle going on these expeditions where the magic carpets. Tropical Hideaway too.
Tropical Hideaway, but also Bengal Barbecue and like the store over there. They all just kind of like fit that jungle vibe, and it just feels like you're in it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Disney World's Adventureland didn't really have that feel to me. And then the other one was Fantasyland that we feel is definitely done better in Disneyland. Disney World, it's a very like old school feel. Like it feels kind of like you stepped back in time to like when it would have opened, you know, like maybe in the 70s. It doesn't feel like it's really had much like updating. I still think it's fun. And there's areas that are really fun, like the Tangled area where the bathrooms are is really cool. And, you know, certain areas are really fun, and like New Fantasyland over there where Ariel is and Be Our Guest and all that is awesome. But like the main area with like the rides in Fantasyland is kind of just like, ours is for sure better. The way that it's just kind of like, it just feels like
like you're walking the streets of like Pinocchio or like Cinderella,
such a different feel.
Totally. And I think another one that is pretty special that we still have, and it seemed like we were going to get rid of it, but we still have it now, is Toontown, because Disney World actually Magic Kingdom used to have Toontown, and I've heard from some people they're like so bummed that it left, and now I wouldn't have really brought that up and cared for it, but now that we get Mickey's Runaway Railway in Toontown, I think it makes that land so much more special. And it just to have the Mickey ride in Disneyland rather than Hollywood Studios, and you could literally walk outside the ride and go to Mickey's house. Like that's very special land now, especially having kids and everything.
Yeah, and I guess it's always been kind of special for that reason, just to have kind of an area that feels more dedicated to Mickey, because nowhere else in the park is really like about Mickey. It's about pretty much any other character, but Toontown is about like the OGs, you know, Fab Five and all them and their homes, and the rides are fun there. And I think Toontown is definitely a special place. Yeah, definitely. So we did have a few followers who also said that the lands are better in Disneyland. So we have at Amana, who said Atmosphere. Rox Lehman said Fantasyland Dark Rides, Toontown, Dino Diorama, which is the aspect in the train ride where you see the whole dino area, which is so fun.
Crazy.
Yeah, that is definitely such a cool aspect of the train. And then at Odd Mother said the details, the entrance, I was a bit disappointed and felt like they half did Magic Kingdom. Yeah. And
I think that goes back to the point we were talking about earlier, is that everything is so spaced out in Magic Kingdom that there are some sections where it's like it loses some of the immersiveness because it's not, you know, it just seems more open space. And obviously they did that for a reason. But when you come from Disneyland and everywhere you look is so themed, like Amana said, the atmosphere and everything, you do feel more like enveloped in it, I guess. But yeah,
sure.
Next up on our list why Disneyland is better character interactions. And so when we went to Disney World, we were going with 2 other adults. None of us had kids at the time. And we were just so focused on trying to get to rides. So we didn't really do character interactions. But from what we've heard, characters over there are more, you go see them, you wait in the line and see them at their designated spot. But at Disneyland, there are a lot of characters that are just roaming around and you could just kind of catch them, you know?
And I've noticed it a lot more post 2020.
Yeah.
And even after things had reopened, you know, obviously for a while they were in certain areas, but they were, you know, sectioned off, and, you know, you still had to wait to even just like wave from a distance. I've noticed, you know, since then it's definitely gotten to where you just see them out walking. You can kind of like wave, and
you get like Peter
a little more
Pan
accessible,
and Wendy just like running around the place and like
I love it.
You know, having a fun
and
time.
Hook at the same time.
Yeah,
like
Hook, and then
just kind of in that vicinity. It's
so
fun.
Jack Sparrow. He's a big one. He's always just doing his own thing, which is
roaming.
Fun.
Yeah, it's so fun to see the characters running around. It makes it feel so authentic, so realistic.
Yeah, it is so cool. And so we actually had some people who mentioned that as well. So we had at Friend Like Melody, who actually is on that side. She goes to Walt Disney World more. She said the roaming characters. And then at Classic Bella said characters freely walk around, especially in Fantasyland. And yeah, it is so crazy when you do see that. I mean, you see like, I don't know if they do this in Magic Kingdom. I'm not sure, but you'll see Mary Poppins and Bert and like the band riding the carousel. You'll see like multiple different characters riding that. And so that's just, I don't know. It's just,
I know, I
so
love
fun
that.
and special.
It makes it so extra fun.
Yeah. So magical for sure.
Okay. So next up on our list is the Good Neighbor hotels. So if you are local to Disneyland, you know that the Disneyland resort hotels are a bit unreachable in terms of cost. It's like
so expensive.
If you got a lot of money and you can swing it, that's amazing. But for the majority of us, it's not as much an option. So we do have quite a few options for Good Neighbor hotels, which are just any of the regular hotels along the street that Disneyland is found on, Harbor Boulevard. There's tons of options and they range in prices. Some are really inexpensive and some are, you know, a little bit closer to that, you know, resort price, but all very walkable to the parks, which is so prime.
And you don't get that in Walt Disney World. Even the resort hotels, you're driving or have to take the Skyliner or something like that. Like you could literally stay off property, quote unquote, in Disneyland and be closer than a Disney. Like you could stay at a hotel across the street and be at the park closer than like Pixar Place Hotel. I feel like, you know, it's crazy.
It's crazy. You can take a bus. There are bus pickup locations. I think some even at the hotels. Maybe. But also there's some like Disney lots that are close by to a lot of those hotels where you can walk to there and then take the bus if you don't want to walk all the way, because it can get up to like a mile or a little over a mile to walk from some of the hotels. So yeah, if you don't want to like start your day having to walk that far right out the gate, you can take the bus.
Yeah. But it just makes it so much more like manageable.
Yeah. There's
and like
so many options.
I don't know, it's just cool walking into the park.
It is.
From your hotel.
I don't know. It's one of my favorite things, to be honest. Like every time we get ourselves up and out the hotel door in the morning and we're like just raring to go, and you know, you feel the like energy of everybody that's walking in at the same time. Everybody's just so pumped to get there. It's a very different feeling than in Disney World, because you pretty much have to take a bus, or I think we Ubered a few of the times. I guess you can park there if you want to. We never did, but
some resorts are like walkable from the things, but not like that many, and definitely not like good neighbor hotels. It's not really doable over there. So to have that and like have the pricing options over here is really nice.
Yeah, agreed. And there's those are all very walkable. There's also like timeshares or Airbnbs that are also generally very close by as well. That maybe walkable, maybe not, but a very close drive if you have to, or Uber ride.
For sure. Yeah.
So, a lot of options.
Definitely. So the last one that we have here, and I think it's a really important one, is the weather.
Very important.
California weather cannot be beat. It's never too hot. I mean, okay.
That's a lie. That is a lie. It can definitely be hot. We've been there when it was in the 90s, and it feels like you're on the surface of the sun.
Okay, but the range of weather in California, it's going to stay between,
generally
a smaller range than like Disney World. Like Disney World could get insanely hot, insanely humid, storm on you, rain on you.
The rain,
lightning, a lot of things
over the place.
Yeah,
that's true.
Oh my gosh, like it's just so crazy in Florida. And so planning a trip, I think, with weather in mind is easier in California.
Definitely easier
than Walt Disney World. I mean, anytime you go to Walt Disney World, I feel like
it really doesn't matter what time of year it is.
Yeah,
it's always going to be a mixed bag of weather when you're there. You're going to be hot, cold, wet, sweaty, all of the things within a 1 day span.
And harder to get to your hotel at Disney World too if you want to like escape it or anything like that. So
much harder that way.
Yeah. Weather is incredible in California. And so we got some listeners who mentioned that as well. At Two Magic Guys said the SoCal sun for sure. So nice. And then at All Day All Disney said better weather. So true. You cannot.
You really can't beat it. California weather is prime overall.
Yeah, the weather is just so amazing. But with that, we had two people who mentioned some things that weren't on our list. So we wanted to bring those up because they're really fun as well. But we heard from at Country Critters who said the fact that we close at midnight during the weekend, and we have the Indiana Jones ride. And Indiana Jones is my favorite ride. So the fact that Walt Disney World does not have that ride definitely makes Disneyland better. The midnight thing we used to love when we were younger, but now that we have kids,
we have not stayed till midnight in quite a while. I do miss those days.
It was so much
it's hard to even imagine doing that now. I feel like since having kids, like I get so tired and burnt out.
As you say that, I was like yawning, like
literally. But always tired. I mean, I could stick it out and make it happen at least one time on a trip.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know about
if we like went without kids.
I think we could do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would like intentionally do it, but then definitely would have to sleep in.
Yes, for sure.
In the morning. But yeah, it was so fun. Like when we were a little more carefree to stay till midnight. That was the best. So I totally feel you.
Oh yes, and we were like park opening to park closing people. It was like we were just there as long as possible.
We made it happen. Yeah.
Because if you're having trips that are not all the time, it's like you just want to soak it up for as long as you possibly can.
Yeah. It's so nice.
Happen.
So nice. And then we also heard from at fantastically.disney who said the walkthrough castle. And yes, Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom, you could eat in their castle, which is so special and so cool, but you have to have reservations to go up there
and pricey.
It's so pricey, but anyone for free could walk in our castle.
Yes.
And see the really cool Sleeping Beauty displays.
Yeah. It's just so special to be able to like walk through the whole entirety of the castle and like the whole Sleeping Beauty story played out in front of you. It's just such a fun thing to get to see.
Yeah.
I've always loved doing that. I want to start doing it again. It's been a while since we've done the walkthrough, but it makes
Would it scare our son? It's a little spooky, but it is really cool.
Maleficent is a scary villain.
She's the queen baddie.
She is. She's great. The queen,
but definitely scary.
Yeah, it's dark. It's very dark, but I want to do it again.
Yeah,
maybe we'll just take turns doing it.
Yeah.
Someone will stay out with the kids and trade off
for sure.
But
it's so amazing.
so many things to talk about. Disneyland is such a special place. And this is just some of the reasons. I'm sure that we could come up with even more if we had to. It's, the list could go on and on and on.
Yeah. And actually, to keep the dialogue going too, because there might have been some things that we missed. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments if we missed something, and then we get to give our thoughts on it and reply to your comment as well. And so we love making this podcast a two-way conversation. And so definitely go to YouTube, drop a comment, and we could talk a little bit more about our love for Disneyland and why, its strengths against Disney World. And then next week, we are going to be talking about why Walt Disney World is better than Disneyland, which is
I'm
really excited too. And I'm very curious to hear what our listeners say about that, because I'm curious where they line up.
Yeah, especially the people that have been often, because we've been one time and it's been quite a few years. We did love it, but I feel like there's people that probably have much better insight to Disney World than we do. So it'll be fun to just kind of hear some responses of things that maybe we haven't thought about, hadn't experienced there, and kind of see what they have to say about why it's better.
It's going to be a really fun episode. And so we just want to thank you guys all so much for listening to our podcast. It means so much to us, but we will catch you all next week. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you then. Have a good one,
guys.
Bye.
Bye.